Today I was thinking it's probably about time that I could give a objective vibe of how I feel about Midnight after release. I've been holding back on that because, well, all the important content was sort of staggered. And I guess that's a good place to start. For better or worse, Blizzard has done their utmost to make it so that every week or so we're getting something relevant and new. First it was Mythic Zeros and more advanced prey content. Then we have Raid, and I think Mythic Plus was delayed a little bit. Then we had Mythic Plus and Mythic Raid, and then we started getting Vaults, and next week we're still even getting this cadence because we're getting patch 12.5 of class changes. We've been getting class changes periodically. But we'll be getting new content next week, Turbo Boost, and all other kinds of stuff. It looks like they're not planning to stop either because we're going to be getting a new raid in the next patch, which I assume will be within like 4 to 6 months after the... 4 to 6 weeks. 4 to 6 weeks after next week. So we're looking at another raid, though going off of from what I hear, it's going to be a test of having Flex Mythic. So I'm not sure if there's going to be a big race to world first for that one. But at the same time, I feel like that's, as a primarily heroic raider, mostly due to the 20-man Mythic lockout, I'm actually kind of excited for it because the main limiter that keeps me out of Mythic is I don't want to join a Mythic guild. I have fun with the guild I'm in. And it looks like the guild I'm in will be able to at least try it because we don't have to bench people. Because the whole point of why we do Heroic in the first place was we don't want to do all the cringe comp shit that you have to do to make Mythic function. Don't have to tell people who are qualified to do the content, hey, yeah, your class sucks and we don't want, and you're benched for today. And granted, even if we were able to do Mythic, it's not like we're really a guild that would get cutting edge each season. I mean, we have a few people in the guild who could probably do it, but that's just how it is. But as a heroic raider, the concept of or a heroic raider who goes reasonably farther, typically in Mythic Plus, it's actually pretty exciting. And I'm hoping it works out. But overall, like, even with the raids in the standard lockout system, I would say this season's raids have been pretty good from my perspective. For several reasons. First of all, the variety. Like, I've been joking with my friends in my guild that this will be the tier where I finally get cutting edge. And the reason for that is pretty simple. We have 3 raids this tier. And each of them have their own AOTC and cutting edge. I think I can... Let's see. Curve. Currently, we're still working on the 3rd raid, but each of the raids has its own head of the curve, which means that each of the raids has cutting edge. And as it turns out, the first raid in the tier, the Dream Rift, is one boss, and it seems to be puggable on Mythic. So that means that, even as a joke, I can at least get cutting edge Dream Rift for the first time ever. How exciting. It's a meme though, like, yeah, I get it. It's the same as the World First. If you don't get, like, if you're not clearing all 9 bosses, it's not really the same thing. But at the same time, it's still it's still really funny to me. And it is a party trick and a party joke. And there's a non-zero chance that our hero guild will be a cutting-edge guild at the end of the season. Since there's a non-zero chance, we'll just go into Dream Rift and get it. The raids themselves, though, even from like the hero guild perspective, I've liked them. I really have. Last night we spent about 2 hours in Quel'Danas. Rumor has it that most serious guilds are going straight to Mythic after clearing Voidspire because the Quel'Danas raid isn't worth doing on heroic on a gear efficiency level. But we're a heroic guild that doesn't have a 20-man roster, so we're just doing Quel'Danas. And honestly, I think it's a fun raid. I think the Voidspire and Dreamrift were also fun raids. Dreamrift is reasonably easy. It's got annoyingly good loot, but the one fight it has is a fun one. All of the fights in Voidspire, I didn't hate any of them, really. I think one big factor to this tier is that there's no single target, like, patchwork type fight. There's one boss that's close to it, but every single fight this tier has cleave of some sort, and most of them are very heavy on it. And from a damage dealer perspective, I think that is fantastic. It's being able to exploit different damage types is one of the things that makes damage dealing engaging. And I feel like that's also true for tanking for raid, because one of the things that you can use to show your skill as a tank for raid tanking is positioning the boss in such a way that enables your DPS and healers to actually do their jobs. Healing in raid has always been just like healing in raid also has been pretty good since they're moving away. Or at least they quote. This is the official standpoint. I only healed a little bit, but the idea is apparently to make it less about popping cooldowns at specific times and more about constantly healing damage. There are definitely some places where you still want to stack cooldowns, and we've had issues with that, but overall I feel like the raid has been interesting and fun for most roles. One caveat, though, because it's fresh in mind, I had a lot of fun doing the last boss of the Siege of Quel'Danas, I think it is? March of Quel'Danas. But my Mythic Plus group, who is also in the raid, was having a lot of complaints about just like the readability of the fights. But the big ones were just some of the mechanics were lacking, were causing lag. Some of the mechanics were and also breaking add-ons, breaking macros. I'm not sure if it's a works on my machine type thing, but it is definitely a very complicated fight. And I can sort of see where they're coming from. I was sort of enjoying it, though, in the fight optimization standpoint, where it's just like you do a dance and you're dodging, you have like a bunch of obstacles. It was definitely not an easy fight mechanically, but I think it was fun. Also, and sorry I don't have footage of it. I could probably ask to borrow someone else's, but truth be told, when it comes to these types of videos, I feel like this is just sort of one of those long, you play in the background type videos anyway. Speaking of which, let's potentially go over to desktop audio. There we go. Anyway, so I think the rating this tier has been fantastic. Like, the raids have been good raids. I I have some small complaints, like my class requires raid trinkets, and that kind of gets kind of messy, but that's more of a personal issue. I think the World of Warcraft absolute system has been acceptable. And even then, it's the sort of same as it ever was type thing, so I don't think it would be a make or break deal for most people. I do think that this is true for every expansion that I've played. World of Warcraft is best played with a group of friends or acquaintances, so that you could like do raids, do dungeons without interacting with the looking for group system. You could play primarily with the looking for group system. There are people who do it, but I feel like it is a inferior version of the game, at least from a satisfaction line. Like, as far as just quality of life, this game is inherently one that is made better by socialization. This is part of the reason why Classic was even a thing. Because I think objectively, Classic has a lot of, how you say, dated design choices. But at the same time, I feel like the power of Classic is, and even now, even in current retail, Ship of Theseus 20 years later, World of Warcraft is fundamentally a game that is best played with friends. The quote-unquote friend slop. So, it's definitely a little bit more than that. At this point, the game has expanded to such an extent that there's so much content, for better or worse, that you could play this game for literal years and still not have seen or done everything, I suppose. Seen everything, I think, is a fair thing to say. But this game does have a lot of stuff. Like, here I am right now, just in Wrath of the Lich King content, learning Wrath of the Lich King professions so I can just do housing bullshit. Because that is what I'm doing. I mean, of my World of Warcraft videos lately, all I've been doing is showing is the housing ones. Partly because the opinion videos on the actual content, I was sort of uncertain of. It's kind of hard to talk about just about stuff as I'm doing it. It's definitely something that I have some appreciation for people who try to review games for, because you want to talk about games as they come out while keep as the topic is fresh. But at the same time, I think it's very important to be able to have an objective and fair opinion, and sometimes it's hard to get that without truly immersing yourself in something, which is something that I want to focus on, since I'm not hired by anyone. This is more hobby than anything else. So being able to just talk about my opinions of a game that I've immersed myself in is sort of the goal of this channel. And I have been immersing myself in World of Warcraft, not just housing, for the better part of the last month and a little bit more. And actually, that's why it's now. I've had some time to do raiding. We are within a stone's throw of getting our last ahead of the curve. My Mythic Plus goals have been achieved and then raised, because they're adding another goalpost for me to aim for. And I'm thinking I'm going to aim for it. Mythic Plus this season has been interesting also, because I guess that's a good point to start talking about it. First of all, I think the dungeon pool is pretty good. There are no dungeons I hate this tier. Some of my friends have expressed some hatred of one or two dungeons, but at the same time, I found most of them above average. There's like one or two where I would say in a different tier they would be up there. But this tier, there's some dungeons I like, and then there's some dungeons I'm ambivalent with, and there's no dungeon that I actually hate running. Which is more than I can say for most Mythic Plus seasons. You might have heard that this Mythic Plus season is a lot easier than it usually is. This is very true. This tier, me and my Mythic Plus group started a tier. Our tank wasn't online. I had to tank on my Devoured, which is the new ranged death demon hunter. So I had to quickly learn Vengeance, which, with the only experience I had, was having done the Delve Super Boss a few days earlier. And with me and my unprepared, I think is the good word for it, I have tanked historically. I know how Vengeance works. But I was not in practice. Or I was not a practicing Vengeance Demon Hunter at the time. We just sort of crushed it. Like, 2 chests, 1 chest, 2 chests. Go into a 10, don't time to 10. Time the 9 that comes after it. Time the 10 that comes after it. Like, that was our week 1 experience, and after that, we did so many 10s. And then we've been pushing currently. Like, I don't like pugging keys, so I'm a little bit behind the rest of my group. But the aggressive puggers in our group are currently in like the 15 to 16 range. We have one player with Determination 15 keys, which means that they have timed every key on 15. And I'm currently doing the 14s, 15s, and 16s with them. And the goal for the season is to get all 16s, at least for one of the rewards. I don't mind pushing farther than that, because honestly I'm having fun with it. But I just don't like pugging, so we'll see how that goes. I think that's a very good view on how Mythic Plus has been done this season. For most people, I feel like it is a very good point of entry. Mythic 10s are about as easy as they've ever been. I think there's been a few seasons where they were easier, but never from the start. And at the same time, advancing further into Mythic Plus has also been about as accessible as it's ever been, because you now have several goals of Keystone Legend, Keystone Hero, and soon Keystone Myth, as well as a title for 1% and a title for 0.1%. Which the 0.1% was the where it used to just be you hit 3,000, and then unless you are the sweatiest of sweats who's doing 0.1%. You're basically just doing it for the love of the game. Now we have several interim spots to aim for, and I think that is fantastic for the game. There's also just the aspect of base Mythic Plus is so like the gearing level Mythic Plus is so easy that it is. If you wanted to just like start a new character and quickly gear it, you can pretty reasonably do that within a week or two. I and a few other people in my group have done just that. In fact, our group started as a Brewmaster Monk, me as a Devourer, Demon Hunter, a Holy Paladin, a Arcane Mage, and a Warrior. I say Warrior because he was swapping between Arms and Fury basically every key. The Warrior has gone from Warrior to Shaman, to Ellie Shaman, and he is now playing Ret Paladin. All of these pretty geared basically instantly. The Arcane Mage went to Demo Lock and has been periodically toying with Blood Death Knights. The Holy Paladin. This basically geared a Resto Druids alongside it and has been playing that just as much, if not more, than the Holy Paladin. And for my part, I've geared and prepared a Evoker, initially for healing, but occasionally I get pushed into playing Og because we need a hero class. At least, and it is what it is. And I also have a Death Knight prepared because Blood Death Knight has been my favorite tank since forever. But the Death Knight has been more of a hobby project. The Evoker was more because my raid needed a healer for a few raids, and it is what it is. This is what happens when you learn how to do multiple roles. You just sometimes you just end up being stuck in those roles, whether you want to or not. But as far as gearing goes, it's been great. They have a number of new and good systems for solo play. They added a system called Prey, where you basically... The way I view it, because it's kind of hard to explain, is it is World Quest Plus. You select the zone, you have a mini-boss that you will be hunting. And to lure out the mini-boss, you have to do world content. Now, the easy way... There's a very optimized way to do this. You get a special Prey world quest. There's small objectives on the map that you can use to lure them out, like little red dots that will summon an ad, and there's little traps that you can right-click, and you'll get a hidden bar that will go up as you go, and when it caps... The boss is ready, and you go smite them with no mercy and great judgment and all that. And there's affixes like the world's edgiest blood elf will whisper in your ear, "Kill for me," and if you don't kill a critter within 20 seconds, you will fucking die. It's a good time. Except when you're really under-geared, and when you die, the entire bar resets, and your 10 minutes of getting a piece of gear turns into a slog of self-reanalysis and suffering for an indefinite amount of time. 10 out of 10. Fantastic feature. I hope they keep bringing. I hope it is a mainstay into future WoW patches and expansions. Delves are back. Delves are about the same as they ever were. They made some of the more convenient things tied to the Delver's journey, so you have to do a fair number of delves to get like myth crests from delves, but same as it ever was. You get good gear from delves. Like if you want to speed gear a character, the process is basically gear up to level 90 as quickly as possible. Like buy some blue gear off the auction house or like some other means of quickly going slightly above quest gear. Do some world quests. And then you just like jump into delves, get some champion gear, jump into praise, get more champion gear. Get one hero piece from delves because you get one for using killing the delve mini boss and getting the map off of it. And after that, craft like one or two items, and your character is basically ready to do Mythic 10s if you have a good guild group. You will not be able to do Mythic 10s by pugging, because no one's going to invite your 230, 240 character unless you're healing. And I don't recommend just like throwing yourself into the deep end as a healer just because you want to do Mythic 10s, because that's just going to be an awful experience for everyone involved. If you're an experienced healer, on the other hand, Yeah, you could probably make do, but it's one of those things where it's just like that's just sort of the pipeline that you do to gear your character. Because once you're in the 230 to 240 zone, you can take your rat character and very quickly get into a few tens. Then your character will no longer be a rat, and then you can just like gear it of your own initiative, or just gear it through weekly caches and the like. As of next week, we're getting an extra layer where you can just like get to catch up gear and basically myth trek out your alt really fast. It's kind of exciting, honestly. PvP. I know PvP. I'm sorry. They have a few introductions to PvP style quests. That's all I've engaged with. I hear that PvP is the same as it ever was. It's not my thing. I'm sorry. I can't give you an opinion on that. Story. My opinion on World of Warcraft story going into Midnight is I got into World of Warcraft through Warcraft 3, and I'm not gonna really... The World of Warcraft story has drifted away from my aesthetics, so I don't really think about it too much. That was what it was going into Midnight. Midnight almost tricked me into believing this wasn't the case. And to an extent, I think that they did a decent job of fleshing out the elves this expansion. It's been a very elfy expansion. There have been a few plot points where I have forcibly turned my brain off because I don't want to think about it. Most of this has to do with the trolls and being at peace with them. And I will say the end of Raid cutscene was definitely one of those, I maybe shouldn't have given them the benefit or shouldn't be giving them the benefit of the doubt. But I can't really say I shouldn't be giving them the benefit of the doubt, because my faith in exactly what happening was so strong that I hadn't given them the benefit of the doubt, but I had been getting close to doing so. I do not play World of Warcraft for the story. I keep track of it as a morbid curiosity. And to their credit, I do think that the story is at least not as offensively bad as it was in some of the previous expansions. So I think to a degree, if you're morbidly curious about World of Warcraft's story, do keep that as one point of this expansion's favor. You can check it out, and it might not have been a waste of your time. And here we are once again on housing. Oh, did I forget to do... Oh, okay, there we go. I have engaged pretty heavily into housing this expansion. Especially to the extent that I am currently doing old world content, trying to collect decor so that I can level up my house faster. I am looking forward to a number of... as content patches go by, I'm looking forward to having more things to do with housing. I'm also looking forward to the new raids and such. It has very firmly established itself as one of the things that I am playing future patches for. And I think that is a grand thing. It is a good system, and I'm looking forward to playing it as I want to play it. Because I'm sure that most of you have seen some advertisements showing how wholesome housing is. And there's definitely an aspect to that. But I think there is potential to just go further beyond. If you see my other videos, you'll note that my houses are sort of like escape rooms or mazes or puzzles, and I kind of want to leverage into that, where I make like goofy little game show houses where you gather up a group of people and be like, find this item and the winner gets a decor or something. Like, being able to make your own game out of it, I think is really cool. And it's something that I am looking to try. I'll probably make some videos on that when I do so. Rather, I literally did last week. But I plan to expand upon that, and that's part of the reason why I've been... Like, we are almost at the end of AOTC. In any other patch, the guild would start dying at this point. Like, people would be like, okay, I'm done with the patch. See you guys in 3 months, or next expansion, depending on the player. Most people are still playing relatively actively. I am not even thinking about moving on from World of Warcraft at the moment. And that is crazy. Usually, that's not the case. Usually we get AOTC, we're done. I'm currently looking forward to, like, hunting Decor in the 0.5 patch. Never happens. I mean, this is the first patch with Decor, but whatever. I usually don't engage with the world content bullshit that happens in the 0.5 patch. All that much. We're getting a raid before next season, and that raid is going to allow us to go to Mythic. I'm excited for that. There's going to be an actual next season, and that's what I'm usually excited for. And that's the usual, I guess I'll play my Steam backlog for 2 months and then wait for the next patch to come in moment. But it's looking more like we'll be progging that new raid, and if it's exciting, I guess that might coast us to the next, or that'll coast us to next season. And if not, then it's Steam backlog time for a month. That's pretty good. As far as Midnight goes, I think it has been above average as an expansion, possibly even and not just like this is above average for a while. This has just been objectively good expansion. They've introduced improvements to the game, several even. The bread and butter World of Warcraft things have been above average, because I think the raid's good. Like, one credit to Blizzard. It's hard to say that this raid is above average, because for the past few seasons, I think that all of their raids have been pretty good from my perspective. Like, the current season of raids has been really good. The variety in particular is great, because you have a decent variety of environments, though it's very Void themed. But War Within, I didn't dislike any of the War Within raids. Nurubar Palace is probably the weakest of the three, but I liked Nurubar Palace. Liberation to Undermine had a fantastic theme, and the bosses were fun. Manaforge Omega, I really enjoyed it. It had good fights. Dementius was probably the coolest fight they ever made, just like in terms of sheer theme. Dragonflight even. I liked Emergisil. Aberrus was kind of weak, but it was a fun tier. I liked Vault of the Incarnates, except for the part where we started proccing on Razageth. Like, raiding has been one of World of Warcraft's strong points for a while, so saying that Midnight has above average raids is sort of a disservice, because it has average raids, which is a good thing. None of the raids were terrible. It was a good raid tier. It's a good raid tier, just as it has been for the past few years, but unlike some of the other expansions, the raid tier isn't the only thing carrying it. The Mythic Plus season is good. The Mythic Plus season isn't the only thing carrying this expansion. There are a few extra pedestals that are actually solid. Though that being said, compared to War Within, there's one downside. The super boss for this season is dog shit compared to the other two, the last three. We went from having delve super bosses that were about challenging yourself to survive mechanics and learning a dance, and we replaced it with a super boss that just hits you really, 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 really hard. Like, I am still somewhat steamed about how the the Delve super boss for Midnight is just a tank challenge. And I'm not saying it as a you roll tank and you win. It is quite literally a challenge that forces you to tank. If you're playing DPS, you're not doing your DPS rotation. You're figuring out how to survive melee hits. If you're playing a healer, you're not really healing all that much. You're figuring out how to make it so that you don't get aggro, so that Lyria can tank for you. And then you just like get your second monitor rolling and you watch a YouTube video for 15 minutes while you cycle between Holy Shock and Word of Glory. It's just, and then if you tank it, you tank it. Like, it's just a undercooked fight. It's a fight that's where every mechanic is there to make you forget that you're supposed to interrupt every 20 seconds. And the only other mechanic is the boss hitting you 3 times harder than it has any business doing, forcing you to play defensively and sort of ignore your rotation depending on the class you're playing. But at the same time, that's such a minor thing for overall. Like, in most ways, this expansion has been fantastic. Crafting, slightly above average. There's been some bugs that sort of ruined the sanctity of it, but so be it. The new mechanic, Prey, which is what... Keep in mind, Prey is in that spot where Torghast, those cringe 40-man scenarios from BFA and other stuff typically go. Prey is basically Scenario Plus. Well, it's more World Quest Plus, as I've said earlier. Either way, it is actually a good enough system that I think it should continue going forward in some form. It is a objective good feature, and it's one of those features that should continue. Similar to Mythic Plus, Delves, and the like. And that is a good thing. Having 3 raids has been really good. It's been interesting on a Mythic Lockout perspective because we have 3 Mythic Lockouts to go to. As I said before, I'm usually a heroic raider, but I don't want to sound egotistical, but I am a good enough player where I could do Mythic. I have done Mythic, and while I have never gotten Cutting Edge, I very well could at least do mid-Mythic fights, and if I were to be egotistical, I would argue that I'm probably a good enough player to do Cutting Edge if life circumstances and aesthetics allowed me to. And for that, that's all preamble to say, I'm going to be pugging Mythic Dream Rifts at some point in this patch. And it'll probably be pretty easy for me to do so. And I think that's pretty cool. Because being able to pug Mythic this tier is actually a thing that can happen reasonably easily. Because we have 3 Mythic Lockouts. It's not, we kill the first boss of the raid and that's all you ever pug. Because once you do that, the lockout completely ruins everything for you. Every Mythic Dream Rift is really easy to pug because no one has a lockout for it. Once you kill it, you have the lockout for it, and you don't have a second boss to worry about. Pugging Voidspire is going to have the historical issue of you kill Imperator and then like 3 people leave and then no one wants to join because then they'll be locked to Imperator without having killed it, and that's god awful. Marja Quel'Danis will not have that issue because this is the hardest raid of the 3 and no one is pugging Midnight Falls. So if you're pugging Mythic Beleren, which God help you, it's a thing you can do without worrying about lockout. It's like, it is a fantastic season for pugging, even though I just like 20 minutes ago pugging is one of the worst ways to experience World of Warcraft, but it's still a way to experience it. It is still something to experience. So it's not. I think it's one of those things to consider trying, but I don't think it should be your main form of content if you want to play this game and enjoy it. And on a completely subjective and consequential note, the game has been reasonably active for my guild, which is fantastic. That means that the game has been pretty good for me. Like, I've gotten to hang out with people that I usually don't get to hang out with as much, because our main connecting point is we play World of Warcraft together. It's been a good time. Oh, also, Silvermoon City is better than most of the capital cities that we've had to deal with in recent years. Silvermoon's pretty good. I like Silvermoon. Even with the tiny horde section where the guards will randomly murder you for existing. Anyway, hopefully that was a... hopefully you didn't mind my rambling review type thing that this turned out into. Those are my honest impressions of Midnight. This is going to be how I try to do my reviews. I feel like scripts are useful, but I want to emphasize my sincere opinion when it comes to these things. And I don't want it to be all shilly. Even though I gave it a good review, World of Warcraft has always had its own issues. This is definitely a game that you will want to... that isn't for everyone. One thing that I can't really give a confident impression of is offboarding. I've been playing this game consistently for over a decade. Because I came back in Legion. There's no way in hell I can say anything about the new player experience, because I'm not a new player and I can't even imagine being a new player. And the players that honestly, the only thing that I can talk to is I've played with some new players and they're doing good. But there's a lot of confusion points. A lot of things that I don't even think that would be confusion points, but are obviously confusion points if you just think about it for a second. World of Warcraft is very confusing to get into, but at my current level of play, it's a pretty good time to be playing World of Warcraft. If you find that interesting, give it a shot. If you don't, game's expensive, I understand. Hopefully you like hearing me talk about it, though. If you want to live vicariously through my player housing experiments and occasional guides that a non-top tier World of Warcraft player can provide, by all means, though. Anyway, I think that's anything after this is going to be looping, so I think I'll cut it off there. I want to say thank you if you've been listening up until this point. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. If you do check out World of Warcraft, feel free to ask any questions. I will answer as I can from the perspective that I have. If you want to check out my house in person, I don't mind sending out friend requests. Either way, thank you very much. Have a wonderful day ×2, and I'll be trying to upload more regularly, because I've been awful at that. Later.